On this second Sunday of Advent, I want to share with you a drive I took in the fall. It was a trip on Highway 121 from Beckley to Mullins. And the Department of Highways had just completed this new 4-lane road. And as I drove along this road, not only did it speed me up, but I marveled at the construction. For you see, it took years for this highway to be completed, and it took millions of dollars because of the challenge of coming through some of the tallest mountains and deepest valleys in southern West Virginia. And as they made this road, they didn't put in any bridges, but rather they took the tops of mountains and lowered them. And they cut through rock face. And they used the gravel and the rock and the other fill to lift up the valleys. And so this 4-lane highway is now fairly smooth as you're going through the mountains of southern West Virginia. And as I drove along the highway, I was reminded of this passage from Isaiah chapter 40, beginning with the 3rd verse. And here the prophet writes, "A voice cries out in the wilderness, prepare a way of the Lord, make straight in the desert a highway for our God. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill be made low. And the uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain." And that's what God can do in our soul and in our lives this Advent season. God can come into those valleys that we have of depression and despair and a sense of hopelessness, and He can lift us up. God can also come to those mountains that keep us from moving forward and begin to remove them, the mountains of fear and anxiety and worry. God can also come where it's rough and make it level. And that roughness of our selfish behavior, our disrespecting others and ignoring God. And then God can also come in to those rough places and make them a plain. The rough places caused by our critical spirit, our judgmental attitude, and our demeaning of others. This Advent season, God can create a highway in our heart and in our soul and in our lives. A highway where the mountains are brought low and the valleys are lifted up, just as the Department of Highways did in southern West Virginia. A highway that the prophet calls our attention to in Isaiah chapter 40. And our souls can join the chorus with the voice crying out in the wilderness. And when our lives join that magnificent announcement, then all flesh shall see and experience the salvation of God. May God bless you this Advent season.